Hollywood Animal, a game with a historically accurate timeline set during the Great Depression. You have bought out a struggling film studio in Hollywood, and for $5 million, through hard work and surviving all the political and underground intrigue, you can possibly bring in the next golden age of cinema, right up until the end of World War II. The story of this game outlines the major historical events in Hollywood, and then starting in 1929 and you progress all the way till the late 1940s. It means that there are fictional characters, but in the story you can anticipate historic events like World War II or the rise of the Third Reich, that kind of stuff, which is really great. It kind of gives you a good history lesson while you're playing the game. Just when it comes to replayability, it does make it difficult because this game is brutal. You do go bankrupt, you do make mistakes, and the game does not pre-warn you, it does not save you, it just ends you. The downside is when you play this game over and over again, the story is predictable. There's a lot of beats that trigger at specific times, and you can learn to anticipate them. And that being said, it does make replaying the game less interesting. If you're going to play this game through once and survive and play it right through, it is well worth the many hours that you put in. This game will take you good 30 to 40 hours to complete. If you're having to replay this game, if you are having rotten luck, if you're not managing your money properly, you are in for a good half an hour, 2 hours, however long it takes you, of playing the same story again. There are 3 different movies that you can choose in the beginning that kind of start you off, but it actually doesn't do much in terms of your playability. It doesn't change your outcomes that much. It merely just chooses which direction you go, whether it's comedy, thriller, or detective or drama. That means when you restart the game, you have no option to skip. Well, at least when I started, I think in the patches that they brought out in early access, they have put in options. I haven't played them yet. I'm going from sort of end of April when I started playing my season 1 of gameplay through, and I have decided that I've finished now and in mid-June. So I've spent 6 weeks, I'd say roughly, playing this game, and I've played many hours of this game, and it is a very enjoyable game. It is a very deep game. It involves a lot of lateral thinking because this game gives you the film process right from the beginning, from the story ideas, from creating your story from the beginning. Writers, you like employing a writer to write about the themes that you've given him, or someone else's ideas that you've decided you want to try to write the story of. You can buy scripts and you writers in-house and pay them monthly, or you can get freelancers in to write scripts. If you may be running short, or if you want to write a quality script, you don't start off with very good writers. Sometimes outsourcing is better, but they are more expensive. Then you get pre-production, production. So pre-production is planning and prepping for the production. Production is the actual filming. Then there's post-production, where you're cutting the film together, like putting on the sound effects, making sure all is good for distribution, which you then also do. You have some cinemas, and you can rent cinemas, and depending how good your movie is, you need to decide how many screenings you're going to do a week, and that's how you make your money. And if you don't get your processes right, you fail, you go bankrupt. And this game, well, especially when I started, was brutal. You literally had 6 months to get yourself out of the negative, or you lost the game. I think in the beginning it was actually 3 months, and it was very tough because this game you actually have to plan almost a year in advance. You need to plan 6 months to a year. You need to see yourself 6 months to a year. You do not want to see yourself go below $2 million. Because often you have to put money in and you only get money out in a year's time. So if you're already below $2 million and you don't see movies going into distribution that are going to bring money in, you're already in trouble. You may as well restart the game there and then. You'll see in my season 1 of playthrough, there's many hours worth of game time. I think it's in episode 6 or 7. I nearly went bankrupt. I nearly went into the red, and that was my 4th time playing the game. So it's tough. It's a very brutal game. It doesn't warn you. You just end up realizing when it's too late that you're running out of money. And there's no quick fix. There are elements that make it look like there are quick fixes. Like rushing production through, making people work 7 days a week, but you then end up with a really bad production, and you barely make your money back anyway. So, yes, that's the thing. Yeah, so they have made it a bit easier since then. I am going to be playing Season 2, but in the meantime, I thought I'd do, after playing many, many hours of this game, do a review. This game's awesome. It's deep. It's mostly accurate to the film industry. I mean, I imagine this is how the film industry was back then. It's still a lot of the things that you had to do back then still rings true today. And then, obviously, these days there's more dynamics. We have VFX and computer-generated things and all that kind of stuff, which wasn't a thing back then. This game's got a big, bright future, but there are a lot of things that need to change. There are some developmental things that the directions I believe they should go in. I think the research system needs some work. I think having to wait for things to research that are fundamental to the game. So the first time I played the game, the game didn't show me, and it didn't spoon feed me, I guess, which is actually a good thing about the game. It doesn't spoon feed you, but this is the one way I had to learn. I didn't know about advertising film, or it says you get given advertising, but I didn't quite realize the importance of it. So I was a bit late in getting my advertising department up and running. And so 3-4 movies in a row actually didn't make money because I wasn't promoting the films. So if you're hearing this now and you're going to play the game, make sure you've got your distribution and advertising sorted as soon as possible. It's probably the most important thing about the game. If you watch my playthroughs, I've taken scripts that are like less than 1 out of 10 in terms of popcorn and artistic quality, and I've made money out of them. But you got to have your promotion done right. So big importance there. So that's what you learn. Like with the game, it kind of alludes to it, but it doesn't tell you, okay, you have to do this. It just kind of says, okay, you got a bit of this advertising and promotion, but it doesn't show you the benefit of doing it. So you think you can I thought I can get away with picking this up a bit later because it was quite a lot to research. But that is actually how the film industry is. Like, no one's going to tell you, spoon feed you and be like, okay, this needs to be done. They're going to ask you, 9 times out of 10, people will go, okay, well, this isn't done. Why isn't it done? You're very lucky if people give you a pre-warning about something. I mean, that is a sign of a very good team, but not every person in this industry is a team player. People will just think for themselves to a point. And if you drop the ball, well, that's on you. So something very important, and this game does kind of, I don't know if it's intentional, but I definitely get that feeling across. Story-wise, there's some really cool characters that you make friends. So you have a link with the underground. You get to know the mayor. You get to know a policeman. You get to know a bootlegger. You get to know even people in the Ku Klux Klan. Not to give too many spoilers, but there's lots of parties where there are the tools that you can kind of get a bit shady. There's even illegal things that you can choose to research. So if you're in a pinch and you want to give people and you're worried about your money, you can do illegal things. You can win people over. The only issue is, for me personally, I was able to, once I got through the first 3-4 years of difficulty, once I started making proper money, none of that was needed anymore. This is one of the downsides to the games. Like, once you get through the hard part, the game then becomes super easy. Kind of like, think of a plane taking off. You're going through like rain and thunderstorms. You're trying to, you're climbing, but it's turbulent, and you actually at times you're just holding on. You don't know if you're going to make it, but then you get through that cloud, and above the cloud is just clear skies. That's how this game can feel sometimes. Once you're through that rough patch, it then becomes super easy. You got your systems down, and then you're just pretty much running on a treadmill and churning out movies. which is it's a bit disappointing because I think in real life, if you were to get on top and you're the biggest film studio in town, which I was for over a decade in the game, there should be more people trying to drag you down. I think that's how life is, unfortunately. That's how the I think the times, in those times, you got the elements, you got the people, the means to bring people down, but never once did the game come for me. Never once did they try and take out a director of mine, or like intimidate anyone in my workforce. I think maybe once it happens, but it's not even linked to other studios. I think it was the bootlegger, if I'm not mistaken. And it was like like a bar fight or whatever. But they should be doing things more to me for being successful. And I need to, if I'm struggling for money, which I would do, I need to use them more to try and get an advantage. But the game still needs to work on that, in my opinion. So if I'm going to give points for story, I can't give like 80-90%. Give like a 7 out of 10, because the first playthrough, if you survive, it's a really cool game to play through. But once you load up the game again and you want to play it fresh, I think they've started implementing it, this Hollywood Animal, so you can skip certain things and you can get a quicker startup. Like once you've gone through the tutorial, you don't need it again. It just takes more time. And yes, so that's where the game is heading, and I can only give it thumbs up. This game's awesome, but I am going to critique it in certain ways. Then when we get to the design of the game, I think I haven't seen another game like this, especially in the film industry. The ability to see the big picture of how running a studio is, right from the concept of a story idea all the way to seeing a profit or a loss once it makes it to the movie screens. I think it's just really cool. Like, as a person in the film industry, it's actually really fun playing and dealing with the elements. When I mainly deal in pre-production, production, and I dabble a little bit in post-production, but those are my two areas. I generally come onto a project in pre-production, and I leave just after the film finishes shooting. And it is just like that. We generally work 12-hour days. We try for 5-day weeks, but inherently, a lot of the time, it goes to a 6-day if the schedule doesn't allow it. And that's another thing I would love the game to just turn up the wick on, is the story beats where, like, an actor wants to bring a dog to set, where someone has a bit of an issue on set, like doesn't like how, I don't know, like a trailer, like she wants red roses in a trailer. Say it's the number one actor or actress, she wants red roses in her trailer every day, and she doesn't get it. She can throw half. She can throw her toys out of the cot, and then the producer has to step in and deal with it. I think that kind of stuff needs to come to the surface a lot more, because that happens on a weekly basis, if not daily, on some shows. And doesn't necessarily have to be you as the player to interact. I almost want to see, like, you allocate a producer on each production. The producer generally hands with that unless it gets too big, and then it comes to you. So I can make the decision as much as the game is, like, it's okay if I make the decision as much as the game is letting me at this present stage, but it'd be really cool to get notifications of, oh, this person did this, but the producer did this as a result, as a decision. And then I can approve or object of what their producer's done, because that's what a producer does. The producer fights fires day in, day out. And so does the rest of the production team. And that would actually be a really cool element that would be brought into the game, where you have to pick your producer, because I do find the producers they might have a part to play in this game, but it doesn't come to the surface. It doesn't get shown that much. And just seeing, like, some actor trying to bring a dog to set, I would love to see the producer make this decision based on his character traits, to be like, well, he decided, or she decided, the producer, but I think it's only male producers. Yeah, so the producer decided to kick the dog off set, and now the actor is having a big fallout. So now me, as the executive producer, the studio owner, has to get in between the producer, and the actress. I think that's in design. That's where I think it could improve. But I mean, I'm still giving this a design an 8 out of 10 because of how broad you have everything. You're literally managing everything from the genesis, from the creation of the idea, right through to hopefully getting a profit at the end of the day in your own cinemas. And you can buy out cinemas, you can rent out cinemas, and then obviously researching to improve everything, which I do wish they would let you have a little bit more of in the beginning. I think if they just let you have all 5 stages of the filmmaking process available to you, and then like the first research tier, and then you can choose to customize from there. I think that's where the game should start, especially once you've done the tutorial. And it's a really fun playthrough. And from there, I mean, it's still a very sandboxy game. I do think in terms of design, I think they should bring in your friends a lot more. That's your policeman, your bootlegger, your mafia. They should be brought into play a bit more. They should be a bit more imposing on you, doing things for other cinemas. Like if you are successful, you should be a threat. And people should be coming for me, but naturally, if I've got $100 million and I'm making profits, I don't need to go after everyone else. I'm already, the king of the castle, so I don't need to, take anyone out or whatever. I'm sitting pretty, but I do need to take someone out if someone's coming for me. So I think that's a good thing for the game to bring into, when it's fully released or the next chapter or whatever they're doing. The other important thing is once I get to that phase where I'm profitable, the game starts becoming or feeling less interactive. So my suggestion, what if I was a game dev on this thing, I would, instead of trying to prolong the timeline of this show, I would keep cramming the sort of almost 20 years that you play the game. I would start cramming more and more plot points into the 20 years that you play this game. There's so much more space for you on a yearly basis to deal with problems. I don't find there's enough problems. Just dealing with the film production process becomes very easy after you've done it for a few years in the game. And if they were to just add more content into the 20 years that you play, I think that's going to be massive. I think that's where the game is at. That's where I have my most fun. It's in the first 5 years of this game, till like I'll say the first 5 years again. I'm not going to give too much away. You can, I think, after about 3 years, you can choose to be a boutique, behemoth, or a trash studio. So you get to specialize as a studio, and there are 2 more options that are going to be coming out at some stage. They're great. The challenges are hard, but once you start getting the challenge right, it doesn't give you enough. That's not enough to keep the interest going. It needs more than just that. It needs interactions. You need to be put under pressure by the game, and after a while, it doesn't feel like you are. You seem to have a lot more success, and then it's just about treating your bank balance as a high score feature. Like I ended up in 1946 with $700 million. I mean, at that stage, if you add inflation, I could release all the Marvel movies you can think of. So yeah, that is, in terms of design, I'll give it a high score, 8 out of 10, because it is early access. It is a fresh game. There's nothing else quite like it, at least from my experience. And I'm a gamer, but I don't play a lot of games lately because my job does take up a lot of my time. But because I haven't seen anything else like this, I got to give it a high score. And my points there is, if they were to bring that out when the full game is released, then they'll have the perfect 10 from me. Then I have the content. I've kind of touched on it already. There is enough content, but I wish within that 20-year period, they would give it a little bit more, pack a little bit more into those 20 years. The game is fresh. Like I said, I haven't seen anything else quite like this. So the game is super fresh. The difficulty in the first 5 years, the game is hard. The game is unwaveringly hard. It doesn't give you warnings. You make mistakes, you pay the consequences. However, after those 5 years, the game drops off quite significantly. The game gets a lot easier, and it gets to the point where even the story beats that come up that are big things. Give an example. In my fourth playthrough, in the one that's on my YouTube channel, I think after about 5-6 years, I had bought out all the cinemas. I got onto this buying out cinemas very early, so I actually owned all the cinemas. But now then you had the Gerstein's brothers and all the other ones. They don't have any cinemas, but yet they're somehow still making money, and they somehow still have influential points when they're voting at the FSAA. I don't know how that's quite like possible, because I am, I am, I have all the keys to the kingdom, so no one should be I shouldn't be so no one else should be a threat to me. But I keep getting outvoted on certain things, so there's some balancing things that can happen. But again, this game's early access. And I've got to take that into account. So here are the scores: story, design, content, freshness, difficulty. If I add it up here, 34 out of 50. 78%. It's not a bad score. Early access. And thank you for listening. I will see you, and I'm going to start a season 2 soon. If you're interested in season 2, I'm going to be doing a Trash King studio. My crew are only allowed to, as soon as I can, I need to get the line production office open and researched and built, and then I can only work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, and I can't change that. That is the rule. And then I need to immediately research, as soon as I can, research sequels. Those are my 3 parameters, and I need to survive another playthrough. I'm not gonna stop on the playthrough. I'm not gonna explain things. If you want a in-depth, slow playthrough on this game, please watch my season 1. It is a slow burn, but I literally play through and talk through a lot of things. If you want to have a bit of fun and you know the game already, I'm going to be releasing season 2. I'm going to be starting with it after this video, and hope to have some fun. And who knows, I don't think I'm going to last very long. And the idea is to have shorter seasons, really push this game in directions that are not where the average player would go, and let's see what happens. Let's see if I win. Let's see if I am successful. But until then, thanks for watching, and have fun playing. Please go to the Steam store. It's only $10 to play this game. It's only $10 to play this game. Good luck.